أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم ادع إلى سبيل ربك بالحكمة والموعظة الحسنة وجادلهم بالتي هي أحسن إن ربك هو أعلم بمن ضل عن سبيله وهو أعلم بالمهتدين وإن عاقبتم فعاقبوا بمثل ما عوقبتم به ولئن صبرتم لهو خير للصابرين واصبر وما صبرك إلا بالله ولا تحزن عليهم ولا تك في ضيق مما يمكرون إن الله مع الذين اتقوا والذين هم محسنون اللهم اجعلنا من المحسنين الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ثم أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Once again, I was actually very torn about what I'm going to talk to you guys about today in our brief gathering, and I think I'll try to cover as many thoughts as I possibly can in regards to this passage in the next half an hour or so. But if it is left over, I'd like to, inshallah, another time come back and complete this discussion. I think you've heard many khutbas, many talks, lectures even, or maybe even read things about the importance of da'wah in Islam and conveying the message of Islam to others. And this is not a small subject. It's something that's given a lot of importance in the Quran. Allah talks about it quite often. And if you think of the sunnah of our dear Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, one of his most common sunnah, one of the things he did all the time, essentially. If you look at his life, one of the summaries of his life is that he was a da'i to Allah. He called people to Allah. And that's all of the messengers alaihi wassalatu wassalam. So it's not a small portion of Islam. This is a big deal in our deen, this calling or inviting to Islam. But a lot of times we leave that subject very general. Like we say we have to make da'wah, but we don't really dig deep and ask ourselves, what does that really mean? And what does it mean? How do I get prepared? Or us as a community, us as an ummah, us as Muslim men and women, how do we get prepared to make da'wah? What are the prerequisites of it? And then what are the different kinds of da'wah and how do you engage in them? And how do you as an individual, I as an individual, how do we contribute to the work of da'wah in our deen? So these are very important questions that have to be answered, and Allah did not leave us without answers to these questions. He didn't leave us without answers to these questions. But today, inshallah ta'ala, though I want to talk to you about very important and high things, they do come before that. There is a prerequisite, and it seems like an unrelated topic, but it is a critical thing that we have to address. You could even say if the work of da'wah is like a building, what I want to talk to you about first is the foundation. And in that foundation, there are many ingredients. I want to only talk to you about one of those ingredients. And that one ingredient, basically you can call it brotherhood. Unity and brotherhood. Allah Azza wa Jalla says, in Surah Al-Hujurat, He says, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةٌ. Believers, true believers, are nothing but brothers. إِخْوَةٌ. The word ikhwa, as some of you may remember the talk of Sheikh Abdul Nasir, ikhwa is different from ikhwan. Ikhwan is brothers, like a fraternity of brothers, or when you say to somebody outside, he's like my brother, or he's my brother, we're brothers in Islam. People can be brothers on a basketball team, or people that work in the same company say, that's my brother, or whatever. It's a show of like solidarity between people, unity between people. But ikhwa, the Arabic word, actually means blood brothers. Blood brothers. That you're tied by a blood relation. You have the same mother. That's the word Allah used to describe our relationship with each other. إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةٌ. Now that requires us to think very deeply. Because brothers, blood brothers, how many guys here, brothers here that actually have brothers? Physical, like siblings? Okay. If you have brothers, you know this already. You fight a lot. Between brothers, there are a lot of arguments. You get into it. You can even beat each other up, get into a wrestling bout. It can get ugly. And sometimes I hate that guy, I can't stand you. Get out of my room. So between brothers, it's a natural thing to have clash. But the ayah is about unity. And yet Allah compares us to blood siblings. And what is that? One of the first implications of that is we are going to have fights. We are going to have arguments. That's part of it. But you know what? Even if you're beating your brother up, somebody on the outside comes and starts beating your brother up, you know what you're going to do? Hey, that's my brother. I could beat him up. You can't touch him. You can make fun of your brother. You can make jokes about him. You can make fun of how short he is or how fat he is or whatever. Somebody else comes along and starts making fun of your brother. What are you going to do? If you have any sense of self-respect, you go, hey, that's my brother. You understand? So even if you have kind of rifts in between, in the end, there is something stronger than any. It's this bond of blood is very strong, and beyond all the arguing and bickering, that bond has to be there. Now the reason I mention that is we say very easy to say the entire ummah, we are all brothers in Islam. The people in Egypt and the people in Indonesia and the people in Turkey and the people in Pakistan and Bangladesh and the people in Somalia, we're all brothers in Islam. Very easy to say that. But, the litmus test, if you actually believe that those are brothers in Islam, how much like a brother, like a true brother, sincere brother, do you act with the person praying next to you? Very easy to talk about the guy living in Turkey and say, those people are my brothers in Islam. Those people in Somalia, those Muslims in China, they're my brothers in Islam. Very easy. What about the brother praying next to you? What about the guy you give dirty looks to when you're walking out of the masjid? He's not your brother? What happened then? So we know what we do. We think of the big picture, and we easily forget what is right in front of us. The proof of whether we think this ayah is true for us or not is not when you think of the international sense of the word, and people get all up in roar. I'll open up a can of worms for you guys. Like, you know how in masjids across America, there's this huge debate about when to start Ramadan, and when to do Eid, right? For example, should we go global sighting? Should we follow this country or that country? Should we go local sighting? And if we go local sighting, which state should we go with? Etc. There's all this fighting. And then some people argue, we have to have unity in the ummah, and that's why we have to pray the same way. I'm like, wait. Hold on. Don't bring up unity. Because if we're going to talk about unity, right now we're in a situation where we don't even have clean hearts towards each other, well, Eid or no Eid. Even in regular salawat, even in our regular interaction with Muslims, we have all these things that these judgments that we pass against the other Muslims, right? Now the thing of it is, I want to share with you, in this regard, I want to share with you a story. When I was in New York, in my college days, must be the year 1873, I was in Brooklyn, right? I'm in Brooklyn, and I used to go to the masjid of Imam Siraj Mahal. You guys know who that is? Right? So when I was back in the MSA days, before I could grow a beard, I knew Imam Siraj. Right? And the thing to do was, if you want Imam Siraj to come speak at your MSA, you got to go to his masjid, and you got to go there at like 3 o'clock before Asr, and you got to wait there probably until Isha, until he hopefully shows up that day, if he's not traveling somewhere nationally or internationally. And you say, Imam Siraj, come on, we've been waiting all day, bro, come on. Hook us up. Our MSA tomorrow. What do you say? Lunch. We'll get pizza. And he was cool like that, so he would come, right? So I go to the masjid, and we're, a bunch of us brothers from the MSA, we go, and we're sitting there waiting for Imam Siraj to show up. And we see this kid, who's like really skinny, white kid, sitting in the corner, kind of looking around. This is after Jumu'ah, by the way. Imam Siraj didn't give the khutbah, so we thought maybe he'd come for us, or maybe he'd come for Maghrib. So we spent the entire day waiting. We're doing our homework in the masjid, right? So we see this kid, he's kind of looking around. So we just went over, said salam to him, started talking to him. And he had a funny accent when he said, wa alaikum salam. We started asking, so, are you new to the area, or, live in Brooklyn? He goes, no, I live in Brooklyn, but another part. And so, when I started talking to him, guess what we find out? He became Muslim earlier that day. That young man had taken Shahada earlier that day. And before that, you know what happened with him? He was a devout Christian, a very serious Christian. He was doing Christian studies, and he used to go to a church. But he didn't like something about the church. He said there was a black church, and there was a white church, and there was a Spanish church, and all these churches were very ethnic, and they only cared about their own. And even though they talked about God and humanity, they only really talked about their own people. And even within that, they would fight with each other. And my heart was like, how can this be the right religion? So I started reading the Bible for myself, and I realized, there are a lot of laws in the Bible that Christians don't follow. So they started looking into who follows the laws of the Bible. Oh, the Jews do. So he goes to the synagogue, and he started learning the Torah. He memorized it. He learned Hebrew, and he memorized a huge chunk of Torah. And he was actually going to Yeshiva Institute in Brooklyn. Brooklyn looks like Tel Aviv, some parts of it. It's a very extremely Jewish community area. All the signs are in Hebrew and everything, right? So he's going there and he's studying Torah in the Yeshiva Institute. And you know what he says? After almost a year of studying Torah and memorizing parts of it and learning the language and being, these people, the leadership of the community, of the Jewish community, the Orthodox of them, they used to look at me as an outsider, as an inferior. Because when Israel, they consider themselves the chosen, right? So it's very hard for them to say, no, you can't come, you can't convert or whatever. But even if somebody does convert, they kind of look down on them like, this guy's, we own the religion, he's got it on rent. He doesn't really own it. So they look down on him. And he said, I sensed it. I sensed that they look down on me. They judge me every time they look at me. They make fun of me behind my back. I sensed it. I didn't want to feel like that. So I started looking again. Because if there's a true religion, then one thing that will be an easy sign of that true religion will be brotherhood. That's going to be a sign of it. That these people, their hearts have become soft towards each other. Because if God is soft in somebody's heart, then anybody else who believes also, there will be nothing between them but brotherhood. So he ends up in Masjid al-Taqwa. Thankfully, of all of the 300 masajid in New York, in the 5 boroughs at that time, now there's 700 or 800 or something, he ends up at the right one, alhamdulillah. At Imam Siraj's Masjid, there's a huge Yemeni community, an African American community, a Hispanic community, and everybody knows everybody else. It's a very friendly environment. And so he just attended Jumu'ah prayer, just sitting there attended Jumu'ah prayer, and after Jumu'ah, or as he saw the people coming in for Jumu'ah on multiple ethnicities, shaking hands, hugging each other, asking each other how they're doing, he's like, this is it. He took Shahada, no da'wah, nobody did da'wah to him. He had looked up how to do the Shahada, what you have to say. He's like, yeah, this is it. And we're sitting there listening to him like, whoa. Thank God you weren't at our masjid, bro, because you would have kept on looking. We would have ended up in a Buddhist temple or something. There is something to this. When we're going to call people to Islam, when we're going to invite outsiders to Islam, there's something we're calling them to that's beyond just ideas. Islam is not just ideas. The ideas that are true, ideas can be true and false. But the deen of Allah is more than ideas. It affects not just what you know, but how you act, how you live, what your personality is like, how you deal with other people. And if it is the true religion, then it's not just that you have the right kinds of knowledge and the right kinds of ideas, and you memorize the right kinds of words. That's not enough. But your personality shows it. And that in and of itself becomes da'wah. That in and of itself becomes a call to brotherhood. Or a call to peace and harmony. Because one of the most fundamental aspects of harmony is harmony between human beings. And our deen, it gives us that. It gives us, Allah says in the Quran, He says about the believing community, He says, وَأَلَّفَ بَيْنَ قُلُوبِكُمْ. He put love between your hearts. He put love between your hearts. Now think about that. Allah said about you and me, the believers, that He put love in between our hearts. What is the only basis of that love? What's the basis? What is the reason for that love? Why would I love you? I don't even know you. I'm not from the same country as you. I don't speak the same language as you. I'm not the same age as you. I don't have the same profession as you. I have nothing in common with you except what? La ilaha illallah. That's it. Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's enough. And it's not any kind of like I like you or I don't hate you. That's not enough. Allah said He put love between us. He put that love. Which means it's not any weak kind of love. It's not just any kind of love. It's not just some average relationship. This relationship, I didn't create it. Who did? Allah did. Allah put that love. So if you and I don't feel like brothers, if you look at me and you're like, this guy, I can't stand him. And I look at you like, here's another joker. It's like, there's thoughts going on in our head. Then maybe Allah is not talking to us. Because Allah is talking to true believers. True believers have love. If we don't feel that about our brother, if we don't have that feeling, then maybe we're not the audience that Allah is talking to. Because that ayah is about believers. That ayah is about people who have turned back to Allah, who used to be at the edge of hellfire and Allah pulled them back. وَكُنْتُمْ عَلَى شَفَا حُفْرَةٍ مِنَ النَّارِ فَأَنْقَذَكُمْ مِنْهَا. هذا في الآية. This is the message of the ayah. You were at the very tip of the hellfire and He pulled you back. He brought you into this brotherhood, into this Islam. I wanted to not talk to you about brotherhood today. I want to talk to you about da'wah. That's what I want to talk to you about. But I can't talk to you about da'wah until we make, that's the building, what you need first? The foundation. And one of the parts of that foundation is our brotherhood. That's our brother, you know. We have to be grateful to Allah that we're able to say La ilaha illallah. And we're able to say that. There are so many people that are not able to say that. And those who say that with me, man, I'm supposed to be close to them. But now I'll tell you why there's a deep, deep relationship between da'wah and brotherhood. Why those two things are very connected to each other. You know, if you've ever been on a mission, like maybe a project at work, it's kind of like a mission, right? You have to finish this task, and you're working with a team of people. Or you're traveling with somebody, or you're playing sports and you know there's same people on a team. A lot of times, especially when there's a huge task ahead and you're making progress and stuff, you know what's really important for a team to succeed? What's really, like a team will not succeed. And those guys that play basketball, if there's 3-on-3 going on, and 3 guys are arguing with you, hey, don't pass the ball, man. You ball hog, you keep taking the shot. You're going to break anyway. Just pass it off. Why do you give me like these law passes? Why does a bullet pass to my face every time? And they're arguing with each other, right? And the other team is synced together, they're passing, they don't even have to look at each other to pass the ball. And it's all it's like clockwork, right? Who's going to win? The team that is arguing with each other or the team that's synced together? The team that's synced together. The team that's like, even if they have a problem, they get there, bro, do this next time? Okay, I got you. All right, handshake. There's no arguing, there's no criticism, there's no cynicism. That's teamwork. The same thing happens at work or no? If you have a team that's doing a project, if you're arguing with each other, the job doesn't get done. If you have a job to get done, what must you have? Synchronization, unity, brotherhood. You have to have that. And especially when you do a big job and you're together, like you've seen like a close big job example, even though I don't like to give the examples from professional sports, is teams in sports. When they win a championship, when they win the bowl, when they win whatever, they're hugging each other, they're going crazy, we made it. There's this brotherhood between them. And forever they'll remember this is what unites us. We were brothers on the team. We did this together. You understand? The same thing happens with soldiers. When they go on, when they go on in the military, not every soldier knows everybody else. And actually this even happens in the United States military, for example. You have, it's separated into branches. So the Navy is separate, and the Air Force is separate, and the Army is separate, and the Marine Corps, etc., etc. They're separate branches. And a lot of times the different branches, they hate on each other. They can't stand each other. But if it happens that on the battlefield there's a Marine, and there's an Army soldier, and they end up together somehow in a difficult situation, right? And they help survive together. Doesn't matter if they're from separate places, what happens after that one mission? Forever now they are brothers. This is my boy right here. He's going to call him every week and this and that. A bond is created when you're on the same mission. Now I'll come back to da'wah. One of the main missions of our ummah is to do the work of da'wah. If we're not brothers, that mission can't get done. You can't do it individually. Da'wah, you can do a little bit of da'wah individually, but it doesn't mean much. In the end, it's a collective effort. It's a communal thing. That job will not get done unless we're synced together. Unless we take advantage of each other's talents. And we don't reinvent the wheel. A lot of times there's a reinvention of the wheel. You know what that means, right? Somebody else is doing it and you do it over again. No, you need to build off of that and do something more. That's what synchronization is all about. No two people are doing the same thing. People are complementing each other's efforts. That doesn't happen until this brother. So now I want to give you some idea, at least in these last 15 minutes or so, I want to give you some idea of some aspects of da'wah that are not often talked about. That at least inshallah helps us organize our thoughts about the work of da'wah. There's an ayah in the Quran that basically gives us a clue that there are going to be 3 stages of da'wah. There are going to be 3 kinds of da'wah, you could say. Da'wah, once again, for those of you who don't know the Arabic term, inviting people to Islam. The invitation to Islam. Okay. 3 kinds of people that they're going to be. The most common, the first one, is going to be masses of people. The majority of people. The common masses, you can call it. Ash-sha'b in Arabic, right? The common people. Everybody. And at the level of everybody, you need to be able to deliver a message that anybody can understand. It's a simple message, it's a straightforward message, and it's a message full of good advice. It's good advice on how people should live. What they can do to make their life better. In the end, our religion, one of its most essential benefits, if you follow it, if you believe in it, if you practice it, it makes your life better. It brings peace to your marriage, it brings peace between you and your friends, it brings you peace in yourself, it brings you peace at the workplace, you're not, you're at peace with yourself and others around you. It brings you these benefits. And for the masses of people, what is needed? Good advice. That's the kind of dawah that's needed at the level of the masses. They need to be shown the beauty of this deen and how it's good counsel and good advice. As I talk about da'wah today, I want you to remember how many kinds of people? Three kinds of people. But I also want you to remember that da'wah is 2 parts. So at every one of these levels, there's 2 parts. And those 2 parts are speech and action. For a da'i, for someone who invites people to Islam, they have to have good speech and also good action. If you have good speech and your action doesn't show it, like I talked to you about brotherhood and somebody comes up to me afterwards and says, "Get away from me, bro. I won't talk to you." Even though I call him bro. Right? If I do that and my actions don't reflect my speech, it's useless then. It's pointless. It has no weight. It has no credibility. Our speech has to be there. We should say the right thing and we should also act. Allah tells us this about da'wah in the Quran, by the way. وَمَنْ أَحْسَنُ قَوْلًا مِمَّنْ دَعَا إِلَى اللَّهِ وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا وَقَالَ إِنَّنِي مِنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. هذه هي الدعوة. This is what da'wah is. You call to Allah and you act righteously. There's speech and there's action. Okay, so the first kind of people was common masses. And common masses need to hear good advice. The Quran's term for good advice is al-maw'idha al-hasana. The Quran's phrase is al-maw'idha al-hasana. What that means is a good sermon, a good counsel, good advice. Relevant advice. That's one. Number 2. In every society there's common people and then there are, you can call them the leaders of that society. But I don't mean in the political sense only. Leaders in a society are, the better term for them is the intellectual elite. The intellectual elite. These are very intelligent people in society, Muslim or non-Muslim. And they are at the top of their fields, whether their field is finance, or it's government, or it's economics, or it's, any sciences, or whatever. They're at the top of their fields. They are the pioneers in their fields. Everybody else looks up to them. They are even the trendsetters of that society. They're the analysts of that society. They're the thinkers of that society. They are the think tank, the upper echelon of that society. If you want to invite them to Islam, al-maw'idha al-hasana, good advice, good counsel is not enough. Because these are really smart people, what kind of questions do they ask? Easy ones or hard ones? They ask hard questions. They ask deep questions. And any da'i, somebody like myself, may not be able to answer their questions, because their questions are tough. For example, somebody who's at the highest level of their studies in, let's say, finance, and they're very successful, or somebody people look up to, like somebody like the head of the Federal Reserve, for example. I have an opportunity to talk to him about Islam. He's going to ask me not about Islam, but he's going to say, what does Islam say about the stock market? What does it say about, corporations? What does it say about shareholding? What does it say about antitrust laws? He's going to start talking to me about financial terms, and I'm going to be like, I'm not going to have an answer for it. If he's asking me at a certain level, if I have to give him Islam, I have to give him Islam at what? At his level. At his level. And it's not like that's a bad thing. We're supposed to present Islam at every level. And if people are at different levels, we have to be able to present our deen at different levels, you understand? Now that advanced level of presenting our deen, is that going to benefit everybody? If I start giving a khutbah about, antitrust laws and corporations and, is that going to benefit everybody? No. What did most people need? What did I tell you?
Good advice.
Good advice. Good advice. But then these upper echelon, they need special kinds of da'wah. Special kind of wisdom is necessary to deal with them. Okay, now we've got 2 kinds of people. Now let's imagine we're living in a happy time where we realize that our young generation, we have to turn them into what? Da'is. And we realize a good number of them, we have to create an army of men and women that are going to give good advice. And we also have to create at the same time an army of our leaders, our young leaders, that are going to be able to give da'wah at higher levels. They're going to be specialists. And we have that vision, and we start producing these people. If you imagine that starts happening, you know what's going to happen? The society at large they're going to start getting scared. They're going to start getting scared. This is crazy. Some of our really top people are becoming Muslim. This can't be good. Because when really influential people become Muslim, what happens? They don't, it's not just them that become Muslim. Their co-workers say, hey, what's this Islam thing? Tell me about it. And people who look up to them say, he became Muslim, what am I doing? I should become Muslim too. You understand? So it starts having an effect. Now, why would anybody become afraid of Islam anyway? I'm saying that when this happens, when da'wah is being done, common people are appreciating the advice of Islam, really influential people in society are starting to become Muslim. Why would anybody be afraid of Islam anyway? Why would they say this is a threat? Why? That question is very important to ask. Because our deen, it has two goals. In dunya, in this world, the goal of our religion is justice. In the akhirah, in the next life, the goal of our religion is success. What our deen gives us in this world is what?
Justice.
Justice. Justice between man and woman. Justice between the slave of Allah and the master. Justice between business partners. Justice between the government and the people. Justice between, the employers and employees. It's justice across the board. Guess who hates justice? People who take advantage of injustice. Injustice. For example, I'll give you a small example. You know who, if Islam started getting stronger in this country, you know who one of our biggest enemies would be? Budweiser. Honestly. You know why? Because our deen teaches us the injustices that spread because of what evil? وَإِثْمُهُمَا أَكْبَرُ مِنْ نَفْعِهِمَا. The entire casino industry in Las Vegas would hate Islam. Budweiser would hate Islam. The pornography industry would hate Islam. Are these small industries? No, these are multi-billion-dollar, trillion-dollar industries. We would create some very powerful enemies if we started making Islam a force. If Islam started becoming influential. Do you think they're just going to sit there and wait for us to get stronger and stronger? No. Those that take advantage of injustice, they will produce their own response. They will find their way of stopping this da'wah. And they do many things, and we'll inshallah, on another occasion, I'll talk about what they do to try to destroy or to do the work, undo the work that we're trying to do. By the way, I'm talking about all of this, and how much of this is actually happening right now? How many da'is are we producing? And how many people that can speak at the intellectual level are we producing? Is this really happening right now at the organized level? No, this is all theory right now. We need to know this so we can put our heads together and get to work. Because this ummah has work to do, But anyway, you know what they do? If you reach this level, then what they do is they produce these talkers, very eloquent, very sharp talkers, whose only job is to talk trash about Islam. On the radio, on TV, on every media possible, their job is to show people how evil Islam is, how ugly Islam is, how crazy Islam is. That's all they're going to do. And by the way, we haven't even done our work, but they've already done theirs. We've already got those pit bulls in the media. We've already got those enemies in the media. Right? SubhanAllah, we're falling behind. They're like, them 3 steps ahead. In case they get further, we should be ready already. And what this does is, it keeps the masses of people not to take the good advice. Because before they hear the good advice, what did they hear about Islam? That it's evil. That Sharia law is going to hurt. Right? That's what they hear first. They don't hear our message first. And that's our fault actually. If Muslims have been in good number in this country for 2 or 3 decades, our da'wah should have been way further than it is right now. Every household in this country should have known what Islam is. In one way, shape, or form or another. Not from anybody else, from us. They should have known it from us. That's our failure. But it's still not too late. We're still breathing air. Allah has still given us an opportunity to get our act together. So now they produce these arguers, these debaters, these experts on Islam that are going to attack every aspect of our deen. To respond to those fools and to put them in their place, we need to produce a third kind of da'i. There's a kind of da'i that gives general advice, there's a kind of da'i that speaks to the intellectuals, and there's a kind of da'i that specializes in debate. He specializes in the arguments that are made against Islam, and he puts them in their place. He humiliates them. Just like they try to humiliate our deen. Fire with fire. That's a special kind of da'wah. These are 3 projects of da'wah that we need to work on. But what did I tell you is at the bottom? What's the foundation?
Brotherhood.
Brotherhood. If we truly have brotherhood, we can sit together and think about this stuff. And say, what do we do? There's this young man in our community. There's this young sister in our community. She's teaching at the Sunday school. She's volunteering with the youth program. I think she would be good in this area of da'wah. We need to help her become that. And then she can inspire other young girls to do that. She can become, a carrier of a good message to women across the country. If we're going to really carry da'wah in this country, we have to make da'wah to women. And to really make da'wah to women, who do you need? Women da'iyat. We need them. There's a need for them. If I talk about the benefits of hijab or this or that, they're going to say, you can. Yeah, figures. Right? But if a woman speaks about it, if she stands up and talks to other women about why she's wearing the hijab, why she's a Muslim, why she's not oppressed, why Islam actually may give her freedom. It didn't enslave her, it gave her freedom. Before Islam, she was enslaved. After Islam, she feels free. If she starts talking like that, then you're creating a serious wave in the society. But we're not going to be able to invest in our people unless there's brotherhood first. Now, the final 2 cents I want to share with you. I gave you 3 concerns in da'wah. Can you remind me what they were? What's the first area of da'wah? General message. Second area of da'wah? The intellectual elite. And third area of da'wah? Debaters. Specifically debaters. And within each of these layers, within each of these areas of da'wah, there are specializations. Like within general masses, we need da'i specifically for teenagers, because they got weird problems that a specialist has to deal with. Who's going to talk to teens? I can't talk to teens. People think I can. I can't. I don't know. They're on a different planet at this point, as far as I'm concerned. Abdul Rahman can talk to teens, I think, a lot better than I can. But I'm just I'm lost. Not the show, guys, not the show. Then there's the da'wah to men. There's da'wah to women. There's da'wah to families. There's da'wah to parents. There's da'wah to children. There's da'wah to our seniors. There's da'wah to the Christian community. There's da'wah to the Jewish community. There's da'wah to the Hindu community, the Buddhist community, the Agnos community, the atheist community. They all need maw'idah hasana. They all need it. They all need good advice. And then when you get to the intellectual level, there are different specializations, and we need specialists in each of these areas. And when it comes to debate, there are people who are debating against Islam from a political point of view. They're debating against Islam from a hadith point of view, from a Quran point of view, from a Sharia point of view, from a social justice point of view. They have these different angles from which they attack Islam. From a historical point of view, they'll attack whether the Quran is the same Quran from the time of the Prophet or not, and they'll make documentaries about it. We need responses from each angle. And mashallah, we have the manpower. We really do. We have the manpower. And we have amazingly talented, intelligent youth that can become resources. They can become, treasures for the ummah. They really can. We have to invest in them. I'll give you just one example of it and I'll conclude. Some time ago I met this young guy. Did I tell you about Kevin? Any talk before? I never told you about Kevin? Kevin's a good friend of mine. I met him in Chicago. I was teaching an Arabic class in Chicago, and I met this young brother named Kevin McInerney, who had become Muslim in college. He went to University of Chicago, philosophy major, wanted to go to law school after that, and he had a 4.0 GPA in philosophy. Okay, and he's originally, I think 2 generations back, they're Spaniards, but he's a white American, you can say. He's Anglo-Saxon, he's a white guy, but he's originally Spanish. From Spain, not Latin America. Okay, so this guy gets a 4.0 GPA in philosophy, hardcore atheist. He used to have a video blog about atheism and how stupid people are that believe in God. That's what his video blog used to be on YouTube. And he had like hundreds of thousands of hits on it. Senior year of college, he became Muslim. Senior year of college, and he became Shia first. He was given dawah to Islam by a Shi'i guy in college, and he became Shi'i. And he was a Shi'i for 2 years. And then on his own research, he became Sunni. No Sunni gave him dawah. No Sunni went talk. He just on his own research, he said, no, this is the right way. And he became a Sunni. And then he started another video blog. And that was about how stupid atheists are. Right? And how dumb their arguments are, and how stupid he used to be, and etc. Hundreds of thousands of hits again. And you know what? Atheists leave death threats on their trolls at the bottom of his video. They leave death threats against him. And he says to them, who's the extremist now, huh? Yeah. And you know what he did one time? SubhanAllah, and this is amazing what he did. This is kind of controversial what he did, but I thought it was crazy. It was awesome. He put on this, you know how the Philistines have the scarf that's black and white, the checkered? He wrapped it around his head, and he's got this black screen behind him, and he's holding a paper, and he's reading something really angrily in English. About how we will not tolerate disbelievers, and we will wipe them out, and blah, 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 blah. It's going off, right? And then he puts it down, and he takes the thing off, and he zooms in on the paper. Part of it was quotes from the Bible, the rest of it's from the KKK. Right? He's just making a point. Like, extremism is everywhere. It's not one religion, it's not one thing. It can take any form. You know? But people that are listening to the first are like, oh my God, what's he doing? You know? But he made an amazing point. You know? So, and people like that, when I met him, he wanted to continue his Islamic studies. So I said, bro, he found a program in Malaysia, actually, a master's degree in Islamic philosophy and ethics, which basically would prepare him to do some real dawah work when he comes back. So, alhamdulillah, he left, and may Allah give him success in his studies. I think he should be back in a couple of years. And he'll be an asset to the entire country, inshallah ta'ala, when he comes back. But there's talent like that. It's just all over the place. If we were really a community, we would spot that talent before they had to look for solutions. We would say, come on, let's go. We'll help you out. This is all of our problems. This is not one person's problem, one person's project. Similarly, I think Sheikh Nouman gave the Khutba today over here in Plano. His project in Los Angeles, it's awesome. I've been there. I spoke at their fundraiser almost a year ago. That project is amazing what they're trying to do. And I think it can be replicated all over the country. What he's doing is very intelligent. And one of the things that makes him unique, this brother, is that he was at Deloitte and Touche before. He was in the 90s he had a 6-figure salary. If he had stayed in that job, right now he'd have a 7-figure salary. He left it to do this project. Just to do this project. And his philosophy was, we have to come up with a better way of financially managing Islamic projects. And so, if inshallah you'll get an opportunity to speak to him when he comes back, or maybe visit his website and see how it's revolutionary what he's trying to do. None of the fundraising these people do goes towards operational expenses. All of it goes to the capital expense of building. Because they have such a good business plan that they don't have to fundraise to keep the institution going. They don't have to do that. That comes from tuitions and whatever programs they're running. So they don't. Once they're done raising the funds for the building itself, fundraising stops, end. That's their pledge. We're not going to fundraise. That's how rock solid our business plan needs to be. I mean, we need people like that. People, planners like that can take our community forward. Bottom line though, in this talk, in this brief conversation I wanted to have with you, I wanted to give you at least some picture of the kinds of areas of da'wah work that are needed. And the kinds of the prerequisites we all have to fulfill, and how we have to become a family, wallahi. We're all brothers in Islam, but people that are living in Plano or are praying at the same masjid and you're coming here for Jum'ah, you have even more reason to be brothers. You are brothers even by proximity on top of Islam. And you have the opportunity to share salams with each other, fulfill the saying of the Prophet ﷺ, Afshu salam. That makes you even more brothers. And when you're supporting the masjid, you're supporting any cause locally, like even the Fresco community here, that makes you even more brothers. And that should increase your brotherhood. It shouldn't happen like everywhere else. You know what happens? The bigger the masajid get, the bigger the nastier the arguments get. That happens all over the country. I'm not pointing at any one masjid. It happens all over the country. And the harder people's hearts get, the more apart they get from each other. No. The more we grow, the more our unity should grow. Our brotherhood should grow. Our tolerance should grow. That has to happen because we have a huge project ahead of us. We can't even start thinking about that project if our prerequisites are not met. And Allah is expecting results from us. The clock is ticking. We have to answer Allah for what we did. we are in a better position to do this than most Muslims across the world. There are Muslims in the world that if they say even a little bit about Islam, they are arrested. In Muslim countries, they are arrested. They're taken away. I knew a brother who used to live in New York. He moved to a country which shall not be named. And he went there and he started giving a halaqah after Fajr about the benefits of praying at the masjid. Nothing. He's not talking about toppling any government. He's just talking about just the fada'il of praying Fajr in the masjid. 3 days later, the cops showed up and said, you do this the 4th day, your passport will be revoked, you'll be deported, your assets will be frozen, etc., etc. He's like, what? Why don't you just salat in the masjid? That's all I said. He's like, yeah, today salat in the masjid, tomorrow you'll go crazy. So, we don't need this. We don't need this here. Allah has given us this gift of free speech that we enjoy in this country. Allah will ask us about it. Allah will ask us about this gift. This gift of, the right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, that is part of the Constitution that we enjoy. Muslims enjoy in this country. How did we, when we pursued our happiness, did we pursue Allah's pleasure at the same time? We're going to have to answer Allah. When we have liberty in this country, did we use that liberty to serve Allah's deen? We will have to answer. Those of you who go and take your pledge and become citizens or whatever, you say, oh my God, now I have the freedoms to really serve Allah. Really serve. We don't think that. We think, oh, now it's time to party. Now I can travel to, abroad. I can go to England for a vacation or something. But we have to change our mentality. And as an ummah, we have to become people of responsibility. I pray this brief talk was of benefit to you. I know I took way over the time allotted to me, and I apologize for that. Inshallah ta'ala, we'll have another opportunity to sit and chat about some other issues. I didn't get to do these ayat at all. Can I just do the ayat? Just one ayat? Okay. It ties everything together. Ud'u ila sabili rabbik. Call to the way of your master. He needs a call to Allah. Ila sabili rabbik, the way of your master. In other words, when we call people, we have to let them know this deen will be a struggle. When you go on a road, it's hard. You get tired. It's not just an easy thing you come into Islam. We have to call people to this struggle. How would you call these people? بِالْحِكْمَةِ وَالْمَوْعِظَةِ الْحَسَنَةِ وَجَادِلْهُمْ بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ. With wisdom. There's a higher elite of society. How do you call them? With wisdom. وَالْمَوْعِظَةِ الْحَسَنَةِ. With good advice. Who do you give good advice to? How you go? وَجَادِلْهُمْ بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ. And you debate them in the way that is best. Who is this? The debaters who should respond. He's all three in one ayah. All three in one ayah. And he says, إِنَّ رَبَّكَ أَعْلَمُ. هُوَ أَعْلَمُ. Your master, he truly knows best. بِمَنْ ضَلَّ عَنْ سَبِيلِهِ. About who's been lost or who's misguided from his path. Allah knows. In other words, when you do da'wah, don't expect people to become Muslim. Allah knows who's guided and who's misguided. That's not your job. Your job is to do da'wah. وَهُوَ أَعْلَمُ بِالْمُهْتَدِينَ. And he knows who are committed to guidance. You don't worry about that. You just do the calling. You just do the work of da'wah. The results are with Allah. What an amazing way Allah summed the entire philosophy of da'wah together in one ayah. This, by the way, is surah number 16. Those of you who would like to read the passage yourselves, the entire passage is very powerful. Surah number 16, and this is ayah number 165. 165. With that I conclude. Barakallahu li wa lakum fil Qur'an al-Hakim wa nafa'ni wa iyyakum bil ayati wa dhikr al-Hakim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.